Hi everyone! So as you read the title of this video, I can say that I was a very shy person growing up, and I just would always be scared to just let whatever I had in my mind out without heavily filtering it. I always thought so many things and I could never just like let it out. Like there was just a disconnect there. And I really didn't know why. I just thought I was holding myself back maybe, and I just never really knew why. But I always cared about what other people thought, and I was scared to hurt other people's feelings. So this is like my journey, and this is like in my mid-20s of learning a lot about myself, about why I filtered everything that I was saying in my mind before I said it. You know, it's really not being authentic when you have so much and you're just like scared to say it. I am gonna look to the side because I have a lot of notes and I have a lot of things to say, and I just don't want to miss anything. It might be a long video, but yeah, thank you guys if you choose to watch this. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you like the video. So if you were ever called the good girl or boy all your life, maybe you were raised in a more religious household where you kind of always try to do the right thing, you're always trying to stay in the box of what, you know, a good person is. It's something you heavily identify with and honestly value, being like a good person. But if you think about it, what is good? Does it mean like staying inside of the box of what's socially acceptable, or constantly thinking about how others are perceiving you? For me, it was both of those things. And this was good for me when I was a child because honestly, teachers loved me. I was so well behaved. My parents were proud that other adults always commended my behavior. I was just such a well behaved little like quiet girl. People in my church thought I was just like a great example. I really tried to like do the right thing, you know? But on the inside, I always knew that people didn't really know who I was. They knew I was well behaved, but no one knew who I was exactly. I was honestly hyper fixated in molding myself into who people wanted me to be or who I thought they wanted me to be. It was all in my mind of who I thought they wanted me to be. Sometimes people would make like assumptions about me, but it would be so off, like it honestly would hurt my feelings because I'm like, how could you even think I'm like that? But they didn't know me, so they just like assumed something about an image that I was portraying. So at the time, I really had no idea why people didn't get me or just understand me. But just to kind of start off, I want to tell you guys a little story about something that really kicked off my curiosity of why I was a certain way. So the story I'm about to tell, these types of situations happened a lot in my past, and I just kind of didn't analyze them. They just kind of like were something that happened and I didn't know why. So one day at my job that I had, one of my managers took the day off and she asked me to do a favor for her. So it was something that she had to do, but she was a really cool manager and I just didn't mind doing it for her this one time. The thing she asked me involved going to another department and asking for this specific type of equipment that I needed, and only they had it. So honestly, I was like in a great mood and I went to that department, and there was 3 people. It was 2 older women like in their 50s or 60s, and then there was like a young guy like in his mid-20s, maybe 30s. And honestly, I never was the type to just be mean off the bat. I just hated, like I said, like I always filtered everything anyway, so I wanted to come off the best as possible. I explained to her that my manager asked me to come down and get this equipment, and honestly, she just responded so nasty and like really mean for no reason. Really, to this day, I don't know why. She was just out of nowhere really mean that it honestly scared me. And I was trying to like explain myself, but she kept going, and because like it was such different energy than what I was giving. Like I don't know what happened, but at the time I didn't know. But I just like my throat closed up. My eyes were like filling up with tears that if I said another word trying to explain myself or just like tell her like wait, like what's going on, or even just stand up for myself, like I would just like burst out in tears. And it was so embarrassing. Like I wanted to say something, but I honestly couldn't. And she like kept talking and I just couldn't even respond. Like all I could do was just kept my answer short because I swear I was just gonna cry. And the other two people were they were trying to kind of like help me and diffuse the situation, but she was probably just like a mean person anyway and does this, and maybe she like ran the department, so they didn't really do anything. Well, regardless, like I left the department and I had to run to the bathroom and I was just sobbing and I didn't know why. Like why couldn't I stand up for myself, or why couldn't I just like say anything? Like I didn't know why. I just was like crying. Things like this kind of would happen in the past, like not often obviously, but it wasn't the first time where if someone yelled at me, like I just wanted to cry. Like I couldn't stand up for myself. So honestly, I just felt like a big baby. Why can't I handle anyone being mean to me or raising their voice at me without wanting to cry? Like I was just so embarrassed, and I was like probably like 23 at the time. I could have easily said something like to defend myself, but I physically could not do that. This was kind of the first time where I was like, no, like this is actually not okay. If I want to get anywhere in this life, I can't just cry when people are mean to me. So it was kind of the first like really big light bulb of, wait, like I need to, why is this happening? And like I need to change. Like I obviously am not as confident as I think, because I in the past thought I was confident, and like in a way I was, but not really. For a while I just thought I needed to kind of like come prepared to any conversation, like be ready to like fight back and say something to defend myself, but like that wasn't it, because it just kind of like made me on edge and not be able to connect because I was like on the defense, you know? I love to like kind of connect with people and have an open heart. Like I really do like people and like community and stuff. So it just made me more closed off. But I was just starting to learn a lot about myself and began doing what's called like inner child work. And for those of you who don't know, I'll read this definition by the Clinic of Melbourne Clinical Psychology. Inner child work is a method for recognizing and healing childhood wounds by reparenting oneself and addressing unmet needs. It's based on the idea that early childhood experiences and relationships can have a lasting impact on a person's emotional and psychological well-being as an adult. For example, if a child was told that strong emotions were not allowed, they might feel ashamed or embarrassed when they experience strong feelings as an adult. Inner child work can help people understand their behaviors, triggers, wants, and needs. It can also help people empower themselves to act as their own parent and give themselves permission to meet their needs. I learned that the triggers we have and certain behaviors that we have are direct responses to the way you kind of protected yourself in childhood. So whenever you get certain triggers, you revert back to that like childhood age and you feel those same emotions. That's why you kind of see a lot of 50 and 60-year-old adults throwing tantrums. So when that trigger happens, it's a reaction to an unmet need that we still have as an adult. So the example in the quote of being kind of like not allowed to have big emotions is something I experienced. And honestly, I would cringe when people would show strong emotions like without any shame, because I was never able to kind of just throw a tantrum in public and it be okay. Like that was just like not something that was allowed. Like I was just a good girl, you know? So I learned to cope with strong emotions like by myself in my room and everything internally. So every strong emotion I dealt with on my own. And this helped me while I was growing up, because honestly, constantly being rejected and ignored by like a parent figures when you're expressing your like real genuine emotions is really painful. Like if I was like really upset about something. It wasn't like I was faking it. It was just like something that I really felt, but I needed like a caregiver to kind of validate that. And if it didn't happen, like I would have to go in my room and deal with it myself. Like I remember just like crying in my room a lot of the times because I just didn't understand why I was being ignored. So that obviously helps when you're a child because you learn how to deal with your environment, but it's not useful as an adult because dealing with everything on your own in your head pushes people away, doesn't let people inside, like doesn't let people in. So a few things I did to start the healing process. One of the biggest ones I give so much credit to is journaling. It's like my bread and butter. I recommend journaling to everyone. And a lot of people say that they can't journal because their mind moves faster than how they write, but honestly, that's exactly why you have to journal, because you need to slow down your mind and your thoughts to actually process them. According to the medium, our limbic system, and specifically our amygdala, which is inside the center of your brain, it's responsible for processing our emotions, which trigger our flight, flight, and freeze reactions under fear, anxiety, threats, or stress. When we start writing and thus processing those emotions, the amygdala is able to calm down a little bit. As journaling becomes a habit, our amygdala becomes calmer and calmer. That is because we start to understand better the emotions we experience. So we don't experience them anymore at the same intensity as before. We also stop perceiving our imagined threats as being real. So journaling allowed me to reflect on my behaviors and just let it all out there, like no filter. So it was honestly free therapy for me at the time and still is. So another thing I started to do was just honestly talk to myself and like talk to myself in third person. You can kind of choose any age that you think would benefit you at the time. So I've chosen different ages as like the time has passed. But to begin with, I started with childhood version of me from middle school and elementary school. So when I started to feel triggered, I practiced not being mean to myself anymore, but talk to that version of myself with curiosity and overall kindness. So I would ask myself questions like, what is making you feel this way? Why are you acting this way? I would tell myself that I was safe, that I would protect, like the adult version of me would protect the child version of me.
I am scared. But you're scared too. You're as scared as I am. And I thought maybe if we could go together.
So once this became a habit, I added kind of changing my behavior to the trigger. So if I usually retreated when I had big confusing emotions, I told myself that I was safe and I, the older version of me, was going to protect her, the child, and allowed myself to express some of those emotions that I would usually be ashamed to show in their rawness. So I hid a lot of truths from myself from what I found out. Like the fact that I'm an avoidant with love. Like I push people away when they get too close because honestly, I didn't know how to handle people just like seeing me like raw, genuine without me like perfecting this image of me, putting like a bow on it and like presenting it. Like it was just like scary when someone just got close and saw me without me being prepared.
See, I think you're scared. You put up a big glass wall to keep from getting hurt, but it also keeps you from getting touched. It's a risk, isn't it, Jenny? At least I had the guts to admit what I felt.
If I experienced strong emotions, I usually pushed them to the side and pretended I was okay or I shouldn't act this way. So instead of doing that, I sat with those emotions and I tried to identify what I actually felt instead of pushing them to the side immediately. So when I talk about like difficult emotions, those are things that can include like jealousy, rage, ungratefulness, anger at someone you love, which honestly are all human emotions. But if you just kind of like push them to the side so that you don't feel them because you feel like you shouldn't be feeling them, that doesn't make them go away. It just pushes them down. And emotions are kind of like a form of energy. When you push them down, it energy like needs to flow. It doesn't go anywhere. Like it'll come out eventually somehow. It can come out in dreams. It can come out like when you least expect them, like when you're very angry and like you have like something weird happens, and it just always keeps reappearing. And if you just keep pushing them to the side, it doesn't get rid of them. You're not solving it. It's just not good to not deal with the actual emotion that you're feeling. Emotions are kind of like indicators, so they're good. Like even if it's like jealousy, it's just an indicator. Why do I feel jealous? Like, what is this? Why do I feel this way? You know? The more and more I did this, I was seeing myself as the adult, like more mature person. And when I had those triggers, I was seeing them as like the child version of me reacting. So I didn't shame myself when I did act in the childish ways, like how I would act in the past, but instead I met like the child with unconditional love and support, so that she learned how to feel safe. And after a lot of repetition, it honestly was working. I just started to feel more comfortable. Like those emotions were becoming less and less because I was actually dealing with them, and I just felt safe to express those weird and difficult emotions. And I just felt more comfortable to just have my own opinion because I honestly had my own back. All these unmet needs I had, I was finally meeting them, and it was me doing it myself. Like I was building up my own inner confidence. Now I'm currently working on me ages like 21 to 24, and it's honestly really painful. Like it's kind of hard to go back to certain times. And it's painful right now because there's things that I really haven't come to terms with yet. And I think the most painful part is that I want to go back to those versions of myself and give myself a hug. And especially that time, I didn't really have like confidence in myself. Like it was all very like fake confidence, and I was just like doing a lot of things that I was doing because I was feeling insecure. So it's more painful because I feel sorry for that version of myself, and it's like close to home. But that's how it was when I first started with like the middle school, elementary version. Like at first, it was like so painful to go back to those memories. You know, like during that time, like you get bullied and things like that, so you have to kind of relive certain memories and just like be there for that child in certain ways. And like I said, I kept everything to myself, so like a lot of these emotions and memories, like it was like all me. Like I knew that it was a lot of things I just like kept to myself that I had to relive, and I would always push those memories to the side, and instead this time I was like reliving them and like actually like journaling and like processing them. It was painful at first, but then you get to the point where you just like unconditionally love and like support that version of yourself. I feel like honestly completely healed from like those very childhood early memories, but definitely like I said, I'm working on 21 to 24 right now, and it's like I'm creeping in there because it's still like ugh, like it cuts me sometimes to think about like how I felt, and I'm just like, oh, like I love you. Like I wish you didn't feel that way at the time. So going back to the story about like my job, the one I told from the beginning, you could put together that my lack of being able to speak my mind was from having a blocked throat chakra, and you would be right. And another way you could put it, which a counselor told me this, I heavily filter all the thoughts in my mind. Like I already said this, but she was the first person to tell me that, and I never heard that before. So obviously, like, I was a major people pleaser. She was the first person to tell me that too, and I was like, wait, I am? Like, I just had no idea. In my mind, even though like I was shy, when I was comfortable in a group, I was very fun, like I love to laugh and stuff like that. I would be like kind of like sassy and stuff. Like, I had that personality. Now looking back, I just realized that I was confident, but it had to be in the box of being like a good girl, and I had to do the right thing. Like, I could be sassy, but it couldn't hurt anyone's feelings. So like I was in a way, but it was like in the constructs of being like a perfect person. And the only reason I was really able to receive that criticism from that counselor was because like I really allowed myself to have an open mind and stopped with like the defensiveness and like my protective walls. Because like in the past, honestly, I don't think I would have accepted that criticism. It was like a spark, because like that was something that I never thought about, but when she said it, it was like, actually, yeah, I definitely do that. So a lot of the times I would just like be agreeable in conversations, and that's really exhausting. That takes a lot of energy, trying to predict everything, look at people's movements, see how other people want me to act in a way. So I would like build everyone up around me, and then they feel great after the conversation, but like I needed 10 hours alone because I was so exhausted. So I would always call this not being able to hurt other people's feelings, because I was an empath, which is true. Like, I can feel people's feelings, but the truth of the matter was that I didn't want to hurt their feelings because I could feel what they were feeling. And if I did or said something that impacted them negatively and they would feel something negative towards me, I would be able to feel that negativity or like that judgment towards me, and I didn't know how to handle that. Like, I wasn't prepared for people to have like a negative judgment about me. So honestly, like, it was kind of selfish, like when you think about it. People pleasing can be kind of manipulative because you're trying to mold yourself in a way so that a person can be like agreeable towards you and like you. It is manipulative, and like learning that it was manipulative instead of like not being able to hurt someone's feelings because I care about their feelings so much, I was like, oh. So all these realizations were causing a lot of massive shifts in my life. Before, I was reacting from a very subconscious level, like not aware that I was doing all these things, like people pleasing, filtering everything I was saying. So now, as I was aware of it, I was coming from like a very conscious place. Next, I kind of want to talk a little bit about how anger and how it was actually a huge like factor in my healing. The stages of my healing looked a little bit like this. At first, it was major shock because, like I said, I had no idea I was doing all these things unconsciously or why I was doing them. And then after came just like sadness, and a lot of sadness, like on a depressive episode to be exact. It was just like a lot of hurt. And then after came anxiety. So depression lasted a long time, and then like anxiety happened and they were together. For like 3 or 4 months straight, I woke up with the biggest stomach pain because I was just so anxious. Like, I just woke up every single day with the biggest stomach pain. Like, if you've ever experienced like anxiety so bad that your stomach hurts, it was 3 to 4 months. I just woke up and I had to go to the bathroom. I just like felt horrible. I just wanted to sleep all the time. Like, it's so sad. Like, it's sad. Like, I'm working on like reliving some of those moments, and it's really sad. Like, I want to like hug that version of me, but it's true. I lost 15 pounds. Like, I couldn't stomach anything. Like, I just was never hungry. That was kind of new for me too, because I'm actually an emotional eater. Like, when I'm feeling sad, I eat. Not being able to eat was like super new. Like, I actually have trouble not eating, you know. I love to like eat, but I like kept going through and like being consistent with like this healing journey. Like, I didn't stop just because it was hard, you know. You gotta keep going. A lot of people think maybe like, oh my god, like I'm going through all this bad things, like I should stop and like go back to how I used to be because it wasn't this bad. But Like, there's a purpose for it. It's not like all sunshine and rainbows. After that came like anger, and honestly, anger felt very good. It was like I decided to take back my life from being depressed and anxious. I took that niceness that I always had and allowed it to be anger, which I never did before. I was honestly like kind of ashamed and embarrassed of anger. I always thought it was a bad emotion, right? But it actually is very helpful. Like I said, emotions are indicators of things. Like, you're supposed to be angry about certain things, right? Slowly, I allowed myself just to be angry unapologetically. Yeah, and I just slowly allowed myself to even have a different opinion from whoever I was talking to. And then like slowly I just like allowed myself to put people in their place if they were nasty to me and like respect me. That was really cathartic. And I really needed that stage of being angry, but because it felt so good, I feel like I definitely took it a little too far. And definitely some people were caught in the crossfires. Like, some people just caught my wrath when I was going through that angry phase. And I was being selfish definitely at that point, but it's just because like my entire life I always put other people first, like considering their feelings over mine. So I went like the complete opposite way, just like only considering my feelings at the time. And obviously both aren't good. The answer is somewhere in the middle, but I don't regret that part of like my healing journey. I kind of needed like both sides of the spectrum. Obviously, like you can't just like be mean all the time, and I just was able to experience for myself that I don't like to be mean and angry all the time either. Like, I genuinely love to connect with people and just like be in that like mushy stage. Like, I am like an emotional sensitive person. Like, I love like one-on-one relationships. I love deep talks. Like, I love connecting deeply. So I can't have this like angry like all the time, because honestly I do have like a little bit of a fiery personality. I love like certain intensity. Both sides can be expressed when I'm being authentic. We're all multifaceted beings. That's what I'm saying. Where what exactly is good? Like, why was anger like seen as bad? There's righteous like anger when you're being yourself. It's just like a whole other person. Why are we judging you're a good person or bad person? Like, we're just people like figuring life out and being ourselves. What I really want to get across is it's okay if you're going through all these phases, like to get to a neutral and healed good place. Like, it's okay you're going through all these like crazy emotions. It's okay to be mean. It's okay to be like annoying and like sensitive. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to rub people the wrong way in the process. And that's the whole point. Like, I had to let people think badly about me. And you honestly just owe it to yourself to be the best version of you. There's just so many signs when your life is out of alignment, and I would highly suggest you kind of judge in an objective way, not like harshly criticize, like, why am I like this and I hate myself, but more like, I don't want to be this way, but I am acting like this way. Why is that, and how can I change? Because you owe it to yourself to be like the best version of you and like to be happy inside and content, and only you can make those changes. I just want to end with telling you guys about some symbolic dreams that I had, and it's a testament to how when you push emotions down, it comes out one way or the other. This is how it came out for me. So this was before my healing journey. I would have these reoccurring dreams where I would have to tell someone something important. Like, I was saving the world and I realized that there was like this evil person and I had to warn people about it. Or it would be something like, I was telling someone something and they misunderstood and they started getting mad at me, and as I'm trying to be like, oh no, like this is what I meant, as I'm clarifying or telling this person like some very important information, I'm talking and I'm losing my voice. Like, I'm trying to talk louder and louder, and I'm just losing my voice to the point where like I'm screaming, and it would be like I'm screaming trying to like defend myself or tell this person like, oh my god, like this person's gonna kill you or whatever. I hated those dreams. Like, they would happen kind of often and I hated those dreams. That was just like a sign that, hey, like there's something out of alignment. Like, your thoughts and your words are not like, you're not able to like freely come out and say things. My unconscious, my subconscious telling me that there was something wrong. Once I started like actually healing and I felt like I had my voice, the dreams actually changed. So it would be the same thing where like I'm trying to tell someone something and I'm starting to lose my voice, but this time I started feeling something in my mouth and like I realized that I would have my retainer in. And so I'm like, oh my God, like I felt like how uncomfortable the retainer was. So I would like rip it out and throw it. And once I did that, I was able to talk again. And before, like that never happened. Like I just couldn't talk and that was it. And I would wake up. Something changed. So I felt like that was a confirmation that I actually did take the blockage out. Like I was able to actually heal and fix it and physically remove it and speak freely. Honestly, I haven't had those like voiceless dreams in a long time, so I would like to think that I was able to like heal that, and thankfully like I don't feel like my throat chakra is blocked. I feel like that's actually one of my most powerful things about me now, is like how I speak and knowing how to say things and just like being authentic and showing up as myself, saying what I mean and meaning what I say, like regardless of other people's opinions. It's what I want from everyone in this world, because like everyone has something to offer, and the only way to express that is by being authentic and being you, because that's like all we have to offer this world. I'm honestly truly passionate about like authenticity and just like being yourself, because I truly just believe that like this world would be like, just so much of a better place if we weren't constantly just like caring about what other people think and just saying things just to please other people. And obviously not everyone has this problem, but I know that a lot of people do, or they're just like not even aware that this is so deeply ingrained. And like me, like I cared so much just about doing the right thing. When you care about doing the right thing, you're just thinking about yourself from a third person point of view, like someone's judging you constantly, instead of like literally listening to your intuition and letting things freely flow out of you. And those things are good, like those, like you are a good person. Like you have to trust yourself that you are inherently good, regardless if you make a bad mistake or not. Like that doesn't make you a bad person. But anyways, thank you guys so much. If you guys stayed all the way, like this video and subscribe if you want to. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye.